Welcome to another class on HaEzer Halacha series. We are in Siman Aleph in Halacha Yud in the Pitchei Teshuvah in Ot Chav Bet. That's Siman 1, Halacha number 10, Pitchei Teshuvah number 22. Today's class will be part 18 for Halacha number 10. With today's Pitchei Teshuvah, we conclude the whole Halacha number 10. We've covered almost everything for Halacha number 10. In the following class, we're going to begin a new Halacha. In this Siman, in Siman 1, there are about 4 more Halachot left. Halacha number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14. They're pretty short. B'ezrat Hashem, once we finish that, we're going to move on to chapter 2, Siman Bet. But for today's class, Rabotai, I want you guys to have this in mind as we do it. When the Shulchan Aruch says, we're never going to be using the language of mizakel get al yidei acher, right? That he's able to acquire for her a get through somebody else. We spoke about this at length in the previous class. I want to stick to the Hebrew terminology. It's going to make it easier because we do have our hands full today also with the Pitchei Teshuvah. The Pitchei Teshuvah is not so bad. It's just when he tells us to go ahead and start looking into other places, in order to better understand the Pitchei Teshuvah, always remember, if you are able to go ahead and see the halachot, the sources where he's bringing things down from, go look at it. And then come back and try to see what the Pitchei Teshuvah is saying. So we do have our hands full. So what we're going to do is the word mizakeh one more time. This means acquiring la get al yidei acher, acquiring for her the get through somebody else. Okay, so that's what it means, zikui. Just have that in mind, Rabotai. I want you guys to understand and learn what we're going to learn today. Fine. So the Ramah begins, Ubemakom she'en minhag, in a place where there's no custom. What are we speaking about? In a place where there's no custom of doing the zikui of the get through somebody else, of acquiring the divorce through somebody else. If the place where you live, they don't have this custom of mizakel get al yidei acher, the Ramah says, Ein lahachmir, you shouldn't be stringent. Don't try to be a tzaddik now, go ahead and try to divorce her through the zikui. Don't do it. Umutar lisa acheret, and you are allowed to go ahead and marry another woman, below girusheh harishona, without divorcing the first wife. Now, Rabotai, this is the conclusion for halacha number 10. So one more time. Ubemakom she'en minhag, in a place where there's no custom of mizakel get al yidei acher, ein lahachmir, don't be stringent trying to go ahead and try to divorce her through the zikui. Umutar lisa acheret, he's allowed to go ahead and he's allowed to marry another woman, below girusheh harishona, without first having to divorce the first wife. Now we're going to go into the Pitchei Teshuvah. The Pitchei Teshuvah is going on the word ein lahachmir, right? That's what we saw over here. It's not going to give me. Try that. Oh, maybe it's going to give me. Right over here. The Pitchei Teshuvah is going on the word ein lahachmir. Okay? So the Pitchei Teshuvah begins. Ein lahachmir. I b'teshuvatchem de Shlomo Siman Daled shekatav b'zeh v'zeh lo shono. Look into the response of the Chem de Shlomo in Siman Daled that he wrote in this, and this is his language. Avdil lechoire, even though seemingly this is the way it seems, l'shitot Maharam u'di'imei, according to the opinion of Maharam and his followers, de'av b'makom mitzvah gazar ha'gaon, even in the place of a mitzvah, the Gaon, meaning Rabbeinu Gershom Meor HaGulam, made the decree. He made the ban of not marrying to women. Im ken, if so, av be'azvadat yetzarich heter al yidei mei rabbanim. So too in our situation, where she abandoned the religion, so too you're going to need the permission of 100 rabbis to get married. Now, I don't know how many of you guys recall what we did in the previous class. Let me just go back here for a second. Over here we said like this. If you guys remember, we said over here, Yesh Omrim, there are those that say, Mi shenishtamada ishto, if we had a person where his wife, chas v'shalom, she abandoned the religion, she changed her religion, mizakela get al yidei acher v'noseh acheret. Right? You're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to mizakela the get through somebody else, and he's allowed to go ahead and get married to somebody else. He's able to get married to someone else. So comes the Pitchit Shu and he says like this. He says, V'im ken av be'azva dat, if so, even if she abandoned the religion, yet tzarich heter al yidei me'erbanim. That's the way we're understanding right now. It says, seemingly, according to the opinion of the Maharam and his followers or his reasoning, that even in the place of a mitzvah, we'll see, if you guys recall, the first case was, what happens if a couple couldn't have children for 10 years? That's case number one. Case number two, what happens if the woman, she goes against religion, she doesn't want to cover her hair, she doesn't want to be married, there's a mitzvah to divorce her. So even though in places of a mitzvah still, Rabbeinu Gershom made the cherem that you're not allowed to marry another wife until you divorce the first one. So if that's the case over there by the mitzvah, if so, av be'azvadat, so too I can say even when she abandoned the religion, when she went ahead and she became, let's say, a Christian, I would have thought to say, let her have permission al yidei me'erabanim, through 100 rabbis, only then can she go ahead and get married. Now, and for sure, and for sure where it's possible for her to go ahead and get divorced through the zikui get. So why not do it? If you can use the zikui get, like I explained earlier, acquiring the get through somebody else, and that way she's going to be divorced, if I can do it, why not do it? Why did the Rama have to tell me over here? Why does he say? In a place where there's no minhag of doing the zikui of the get, you don't be stringent. And you're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to marry another woman below Girushay Rishonah without divorcing the first wife. Why? If I'm able to go ahead, I'm able to do the zikui, let me go ahead and do it. So, comes the Pitchit Shu and he answers really like this. You can't compare the cases. You cannot. So let's just see the question one more time and then we're going to go to the answer. The question is like this. Now these words are very important right over here. Avdil l'choira, even seemingly, right? It seems this way, that if by a place of a mitzvah, the ban of Rabbeinu Gershom is intact, is effective, you're not allowed to marry more than one wife. If so, if by a mitzvah that's the case, how much more so it should be by an avera, where a woman abandoned the religion. If she abandoned the religion, how much more so you should need 100 rabbis to sign off and say he's allowed to go ahead and get married. And for sure, where it's possible for us to go ahead and do the acquisition of her being divorced to somebody else, let's just go ahead and do it. Why does the Ramah say and lahachmir, that you shouldn't be stringent? All right, so let's see this one more time. Even though seemingly according to the opinion of Maharam and his followers or supporters, even though in the place of a mitzvah, Rabbeinu Gershom made a gezerah that you're not allowed to marry more than one wife, if that's the case by a mitzvah, that the gezerah of Rabbeinu Gershom is effective, so let's also apply it to where a woman abandons the religion. Right? The guy is going to need permission through 100 rabbis to be able to go ahead and get married to somebody else. And for sure, it's even easier. If you are able to go ahead and do the zikui get, go ahead and do the zikui get and then go get married. Why are we saying don't be stringent? So now he's going to answer v'tzarich lomar. Now he's going to answer and he's going to say like this. Now he's going to answer and he's going to say like this. V'tzarich lomar, one is to say, hatam b'zeh, the reason in this is, the reason why by mitzvah, the gezerah of Rabbeinu Gershom is a good gezerah. It's a good decree. But when it comes to azvadat, when it comes to a woman abandoning the religion, over there you can't compare the two cases. And let's see why. V'tarich lomer, one needs to say hatam, the reason in this, given the azvadat, since she abandoned the religion, vihi bechesket zona, she has a chazaka as a prostitute, ve'asura alav, and now she becomes forbidden on her husband. Imken, if so, eino bechlal noseh shtei nashim. She's no longer in the rule, the other way around, he is no longer in the rule of marrying two women at the same time. Why? Kevin she'asura alav mideoraita. Since she's forbidden on him from the Torah. So if she's forbidden on him from the Torah, so therefore, what is he, Rabotai? Is he single or is he married? He's single. If he's single, therefore we don't need to go ahead and do the zikui of the get. V'lo damin is not comparable lemasha katav to what he wrote, the av b'makom mitzvah gazar. That even in the place of a mitzvah, Rabbeinu Gershom made the gezerah. You can't compare to that case. Dahainu, so now he's going to tell us the cases of b'makom mitzvah. Dahainu, which means to say, b'shaha yud shanim, let's say if a couple waited 10 years, the alko panim eina asurulo. Look, you can't compare the case of a woman who abandoned the religion, where a woman abandons the religion, we give her the title that she's a prostitute, who knows what she's doing, and she becomes forbidden on the husband. So now, if she's forbidden on him, automatically he's not married to her. If he's not married to her, he's allowed to do anything he wants. He's allowed to go and get them remarried. Why do I need to go ahead and do the zikr I get for the wife if she's usher on me already? But when it comes to the mitzvah, with the case of the mitzvah, for example, the couple with 10 years lolin, they're not able to have children, the al kupanim nevertheless ain't asura law. She's not forbidden on him. Or another example, what happens if a woman transgresses the religion? She doesn't cover her hair, right? Or she doesn't keep Shabbat. After mitzvah ligarsha, even though there is a mitzvah to divorce such a woman, mikomakom, nevertheless, ain't asura lav. Nevertheless, she's not forbidden on him. That's why over there, in both of these cases, in the case of the 10-year, and in the case of where a woman goes against the religion, in both of these cases, she's not forbidden on him. If she's not forbidden on him, then she is his wife. If she is his wife, that's why the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom is effective over there. But the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom is not going to be effective by the case of where she abandoned the religion, because over there she becomes asur even from the Torah. Continues the Pitchit Shuvin, he says, and if he wanted, he could keep her. Look, there is a mitzvah to divorce a woman if she goes against the religion. But if he wants to live with such a woman, be my guest. Mashe'enkin, which wouldn't be the case. Heichad, meaning the case with the woman where she abandoned the religion. Heichad dehavya bechesket zona, in a situation where she has a chazaka, or she has the assumption or presumption that she is a harlot, she is a prostitute. The ena bechlalisha, she's not considered to be at all his wife. Hara'uyalo, that is fit for him. Bezevaday lo gazar. And this for sure, Rabbeinu Gershom never made a gezerah. Rabbeinu Gershom made a gezerah in normal cases, where the woman is still permitted to the husband. If the woman is not permitted to the husband, Rabbeinu Gershom gezerah is not effective. So let's see this one more time, Rabotai. I just want to make sure we have this good. Let me see this one more time. So we said like this. B'tarich lomer, we need to say, Hatam, the reason in this, why? By the case of Azva, Da'at, where she abandoned the religion, over there, why you don't need no heter of 100 rabbis, why you don't need Zikr Ali de Get, why you don't need all these things? Why? Because she is b'chesket zona. She has a chazaka. She has the assumption that she's a prostitute. Ve'asur alav, and she's forbidden on him. Imken eno b'chlal noseh shtei nashim. So if that is the case, he's not in the rule of marrying two women, because if she's usher on him, that's not his wife. So when he's marrying another woman, he's only marrying the first wife. So therefore he doesn't have two women simultaneously. Kevan shasur alav midoraita, since she's forbidden on him from the Torah. And it's not comparable to the case where we wrote that even in the place of a mitzvah, Rabbeinu Gershom made the decree. In a situation where the husband and the wife, they waited 10 years, at the very least, she's not forbidden on him. Or let's say if a woman transgresses the religion, after mitzvah ligasha, even though there is a mitzvah to divorce her, nevertheless she's not asur. If he wants to keep, he can keep them. Who says not? But which wouldn't be the case. But in a situation where she has a chazakah, she has the presumption that she's a prostitute, the end of isha, she's not considered to be his wife. Which is fit for him. And this for sure, Rabbeinu Gershom did not make a decree. So we see from over here, Rabotai, we want to say initially, if by b'makom mitzvah, if in situation of a mitzvah, the Cherem Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable, so too, azvadat, so too when she abandons the religion, let also the gezerah of Rabbeinu Gershom be applicable. You can't say it that. Why? Because when she abandoned the religion, she's no longer his wife. She becomes forbidden to him. She's not fit for him. Once she's not fit for him, so when he's marrying another woman, he's not transgressing the Cherem Rabbeinu Gershom. However, when it comes to the situation of not having children for 10 years, or if a woman, chas v'shalom, transgresses the religion where there's a mitzvah to divorce her, but in both of those cases, the woman don't become asur on the guy. They're married. Over there, Rabbeinu Gershom said that his ban should be applicable in that situation. But in the case where a woman is a prostitute over there, he didn't say that my ban should be in effect. Continues the Bidgat Tshuva and he says, V'shuv matzah kidvarav, again he found like his words, Lehedi openly b'maharik shorish kuv b'm aleph amud aleph. Fine, he says I found again in the words of Maharik, and he brings that the source where he found that if a woman abandoned the religion, you don't need to give her anything, like the Rama said, and you're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to marry another woman without divorcing the first wife. Now, V'katav od, and he wrote furthermore, the Mashikatav harama b'makom sheminhag en lahachmir. This is what the Rama wrote in the place where there's no minhag of doing the zikui of the get through somebody else. En lahachmir, do not be stringent. Right? We saw this right over here. U'b'makom sheminhag en lahachmir. What does this mean? So he wants to explain it like this. Now, Rabotai, you see over here it says Lamed Ein Chaf Daled. Oh, look at that, it worked without a problem. It's supposed to be Lamed Ein Nun Daled, La'anyut Da'ati. That's what's supposed to be said, okay? It's not Lamed Ein Chav Daled, it's supposed to be Lamed Ein Nun Daled. Okay. So he says like this, V'katav od, and furthermore, and he wrote furthermore, the Mashikatav Harama b'makom sheminhag en lahachmir. This that the Rama writes in a place where there's no custom of doing the zikui through somebody else, you don't have to be stringent. Le'anud da'iti, according to my humble understanding, this is how you have to learn the words of the Rama. Da'afilu en rasha'im lehachmir. It's not just saying you shouldn't be stringent. He's saying that even if you wanted to, he says, no, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to be stringent. Da'afilu en rasha'im lehachmir. You're not even allowed to be stringent. Mitrei tameh, from two reasons. Chada, number one. Now, Rabotai, we're going to go, I think, two reasons we're going to see. We're going to have to finish the whole sequence. We're going to have to finish the whole paragraph in order to better understand what he's saying over here, as you guys will see. So he said like this, Mitrei tameh, from two reasons we do not want the husband to be stringent, meaning he's not allowed to even be stringent. Chada, number one, given the Harama katav b'Siman Kuf Mem, since the Rama wrote in Siman Kuf Mem, le'otana mizakin la'azva dat, to those people that are mizakeh, to a woman that abandoned the religion, im chazra, if she returned, meaning if she did teshuva and she came back to her normal state, ein tzarich get acher, chulu, etc. You do not need to give her another get, etc. Now, Rabotai, the beauty of this is, Baruch Hashem, I'm able to look up that source, because if I don't have a book where to look it up, I would not know this. So what do we do, Rabotai? We're going to go to the Shulchan Aruch. So what do you say? Siman Kuf Mem. This is Siman Kuf Mem. I think it's in Halacha, Dalad or Hey. I have it in my, I have it over here, Rabotai. Right, so I do it over here before I do it here. So over here on the bottom, it gives me the Halacha. I don't want people thinking I'm making it up or it's coming from me. It's from there, okay? So, right away, Rabotai, in Even HaEzer, Siman Kuv Mem, that's Siman 140, Halacha Hey. Now, Rabotai, I would just go straight to the Halacha, but you know me, when it comes to learning Torah, you guys, when it comes to doing Halacha, you want to be able to know the Halacha, not just to jump at one piece. It's very hard to understand when you're learning things from the middle. So, I told you guys, our plates are full again. It's not so bad, this Halacha is simple, so let's just do it together. He says like this, Yochla gam ken lasos shalich lohova'ah. Now, let me give you a small introduction. We have such a thing that's called shalich lehova'ah, where the shalich is going to have to bring it to her, meaning he's receiving it on behalf of the wife. Or you have a shalich cholacha, or you have the shalich that's bringing the get on behalf of the husband. So, we're going to see over here now, can a woman make a shalich lehova'ah? Can she make a messenger where he's going to go out and he's going to bring her the get? Now, at the same time, we're going to want to see where she makes such a messenger to bring her the get. When does she become divorced? Is it immediately once the messenger received the get from the husband? Or are we going to say no, once it reaches her hand? Okay, so we're going to have to see this halachot right now. So this halacha is very important. In Siman Kuf Mem halacha hey, Yochla gam ken la'asos shalich lehova'ah. She is also able to make for herself a messenger that's going to bring her the get. Shetomar lo, she's going to say to him, to the messenger, Haveli giti, bring me my divorce. Vidinu kidin shalich holacha shel bal. The shalich hova'ah, the shalich that's going to bring her the get, which is her own personal messenger, has the same law like the husband's messenger that goes ahead and he brings to his wife the get. She'einu get ad she'yagi liyada. It's not considered to be a get until it reaches her hand. Aval, however, he says, ha'ish, the man, eini yachol lasot shalich kabbalah. The man is not able to make on behalf of his wife a messenger that's going to receive the get for her, and therefore she's going to be divorced. That the husband is not able to do. She'enu yachol la'asot shalich lechovata. He's not able to make a shalich as an obligation on her behalf. Shalom midata, because it's without her consent. Va'afilu hayta eshet mukeh shechin, even if this woman was full with boils. Or there was an argument amongst them. And she demanded that she wants to get divorced. So you would have thought, okay, if that's the case, let me go ahead and let me appoint a messenger on her behalf. I'm doing her a favor. No, she said she wants to get divorced. No, it doesn't work. You're not allowed to make a shalich kabbalah on behalf of your wife. You cannot obligate her in that, because that's without her opinion. And it doesn't matter, Rabotai, what she says. V'yesh mi shomer bozo. There's somebody that wants to say, in this case, she is saving miguresh. She might be, we have a doubt, maybe she might be divorced. Now, Rabotai, you have to understand what just happened. Watch this. We said over here, the husband is not able to go ahead and make a shalich kabbalah, a messenger on behalf of his wife that's going to receive the get for her, so therefore she's going to be divorced. We say the husband is not able to do it. Why is he not able to do it? He's not able to go ahead and make a shalich as an obligation for her, because it's without her consent. Even if she was a wife who was full with boils, or they had an argument, and she demanded that she requested that she wants to get divorced. Right? He's not allowed to go ahead and he's not allowed to appoint a shalich on behalf of his wife. However, there is an opinion that says, in this case, where the husband went ahead and he appointed a shalich kabbalah on behalf of his wife, even though we say he's not allowed to do it, there is an opinion that says, shehi saving migureshet. There is a doubt, we might have a doubt, maybe she's divorced, maybe she's not divorced. So therefore, Rabotai, this is a very big problem. There is an opinion that will hold that if the husband went ahead and he did a shalich kabbalah on behalf of his wife, Even though he's not allowed to do it, nevertheless, we have a doubt if she's divorced or not. Now we want to see the Rama. V'im ba'ala mumar. So this is what we want to see. What happens if her husband is a mumar? He abandoned the religion. V'yad'ina shim mehaderet acher get. And we know that she's going after the get. She wants to divorce such a guy. Why should she live with a guy who goes against Hashem? Yesh omrim, some say, there are those that say, that this mumar is able to go ahead and he's able to do the zikui of the get. He's able to do it on her behalf, even though he's a mumar. No, some want to be stringent even in this. They want to learn, no, you can't do that. What are you doing? How can you come and tell me that over here you're able to go ahead and do the zikui? You can't do that. Just like you understood over here, right? He's not able to make a shalich Kabbalah. So over here he's not able to make it. Why should he be able to make it? So some rabbis want to be machmir and they want to say that she's not divorced. So one more time. V'im ba'ala mumar. If the husband is a mumar, if he's a person who, he went against the religion, and we know she is seeking the divorce, she's going after the divorce to get divorced from him. Yesh omrim, there are those that say, mumar yachol lezakot laget. A mumar is able to go ahead and is able to acquire for her the rights of the get. But you have some rabbis that they're stringent also in this to tell you, no, she's not divorced. A mumar is not able to go ahead and acquire a get on behalf of his wife. Continues the Rama, V'chen im haya yavam mumar. And so too, if the yavam was a mumar, so what did the husband want to do? Now the husband, he wanted to acquire her the rights of the get in order for her not to fall before the yavam because he's a mumar. Another case, v'im ishto mumeret, and this is what we want to see. If his wife is a mumeret, meaning she went against the religion, v'zikala get al yidei acher, and this is what we want to see. And he went ahead and he acquired her for her the rights of the get through somebody else, meaning he divorced her through somebody else. Siman Aleph, like it was explained above in Siman Aleph, what we're doing now. Even though she came back afterwards, meaning she did teshuvah, she went back to her normal ways. She does not need another get. She's considered to be divorced. If a woman who's a mumeret, if she went against the religion and the husband acquired for her the get through somebody else, she's divorced. Even now she becomes normal and all of a sudden she wants to become the next Rebbetzin, we're not going to tell the husband you have to go and give her another get. No, you're not required to give her another get. Vehu adin, the same halacha is going to apply. L'isha neseret al yidei al ba'ala. Same halacha is going to apply if you have a woman who's also on her husband. Mizakel get al yidei acher. Again, same thing. Acquire for her get through somebody else. V'yesh mechrim bazeh. Some also want to be stringent in these. They want to say, no, it doesn't help. No, you cannot do that. Okay. Now, Rabotai, let's go back to what we wanted just to see this line. I know I went through the whole halacha, but we want to see this line. Watch this. V'im ishto mumer. This is what we want to see. If his wife goes against the religion, v'zikala get al yidei acher. Now he went and he did the whole zikui of the get through somebody else. Kimoshin be'el el Siman Aleph, like it was explained above in Siman Aleph. Af api shechazra ba'acher kach. Even though she came back afterwards, meaning she did teshuvah, eina tzricha get acher. She does not need another get. Let's see this language right over here in the Pitchit Teshuvah. Right over here, Rabotai. Right over here. Right? We said from two reasons he's not even allowed to be stringent. Reason number one, he says, since the Rama wrote, Katav v'simul kuf mem, what we just saw, le'otana mizakin la'azva, that to those husbands that acquired the get through somebody else for their wives that abandoned the religion, im chazra, you see clearly the Rama says, if she did come back, ein tzarich get achi, you do not need to give her another get. Now, Rabbi, that's one reason why we're not going to require the husband to be machmir. And furthermore, lefima de mashma lekaman, according to what is implied later on, Siman Kuf Yud Dalid, in Siman Kuf Yud Dalid, the isha shezinta ena mechuyev ligarsha, a woman who cheated on her husband, she's not obligated to divorce her husband. And so too Tosfot wrote this openly in Reish Zevachim at the beginning of Zevachim. Now, Rabotai, we have to go see Siman Kuf Yud Dalid. One second, I don't think I have it over here. Let me just see something. Siman Kuf Yud Dalid. That's why. Okay. Guys, we have to go see Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, Seif Aleph. Let's go see Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, Seif Aleph. That's the whole thing. That's why it's not Siman Kuf Yud Dalet. This is wrong, Rabbi. It's supposed to be Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, Seif Aleph. Let's go see it together. I don't think I even have it. Let's go do it together. What do we say? Kuf Yud Zayin, Seif Aleph. That's 117. Halacha number 1. Okay. Okay, Rabbi. Another long halacha. So let's do this. I'm not going to highlight right now because it's going to take up a lot of time. But what I will do is we'll go word for word. Okay, Rabbi. In Siman Kuf Yud Zayin in Even HaEzer it says, Hanosei Isha, one who marries a woman, ubatka atzma v'nivla, if she checked herself and then she had relations. Now, Rabbi, this halacha is, when a person gets married for the first time, she has to do bedika, she has to do an internal checking before she sleeps with her husband, because we want to make sure that at the time when they're having relations, that if they're going to see the blood, we want to make sure that this blood is not chas v'shalom coming from the husband. Meaning to say like this, if a husband and wife are getting married for the first time and they're having relations for the first time, we're not speaking about the virgin blood. After the virgin blood, after he breaks her virginity, she goes to the mikvah, and so on and so forth. Once they are able to be again the second time, in that second time, which is really the first time, because the first time didn't count because he only broke her virginity, in that second time, which is really the first time, she has to check herself, and then she has to go and she's going to sleep with her husband. Now, why is that important? Because we want to make sure that the husband, at the time of intercourse, he doesn't make her bleed, as we're going to see right now. Because if the husband makes her bleed at the time of intercourse, he's not allowed to continue living with her, because how are you going to live with a girl every time you sleep with her, she's bleeding, chas v'shalom. Okay, so again, Rabbi, these are also halachot nida. I don't want to get into it right now. I just want to read for you the halacha. Hanosei Isha, one who marries the woman, ubatka atzma v'nivla, she checked herself from blood and she had relations with her husband. And at the time after the relations, she wiped herself and he wiped himself. He wiped his private part, and they found on it blood. Right? So he says, on a cloth, whether on his cloth or on her cloth, if they found blood. If this happened time after time, 3 times, close to one another, she is forbidden to live with her husband. He has to let her go without a ketubah. She cannot get basically she cannot get no money from the husband. She cannot even get the money that they made a condition in the condition of the ketubah. Why? Because she's not fit to having relations. How do you want me to give a woman money if she cannot be my wife? He has to go, he has to divorce her, and he's never allowed to take her back. Clarifies the Shulchan Aruch, what are we speaking about? What are we speaking about over here? If this was from the beginning of marriage, once he slept with her and they saw blood, then we're going to tell you that he doesn't have to give her anything and he has to divorce her and he's never allowed to take her back. And from the first relations, she saw blood. Over there, we're going to tell you he has to let her go. Aval, however, what happens, chas v'shalom, if this sickness, this blood seeing came after they were already married? That's already his problem. Nistapacha sadehu. We're going to tell you that it's his loss. His field got washed away. What does this mean, Rabotai? We're going to say that it's his mazal that caused it to happen. When you buy a house, and if you don't check if there's a lien or not, or if you don't check if there's if there was a storm in the area and the basement was flooded, if you don't do your due diligence and you buy a house, and in the end when you start looking to the house, you see that the foundation is weak and it's cracked, it's going to break, that's your problem, that's your mazal. Same thing over here. If in the beginning when they got married to one another, she didn't see blood, and later on she started seeing blood, that's not her problem, that's his problem. Therefore, if he had relation with her one time and they didn't see blood, and afterwards only they started seeing blood, and every time they would have relations, he has to go, he has to divorce her, but now he has to give her the whole ketubah. And he's not allowed to return her back, never. So this is what we want to say, Rabotai, regarding the Ramah. Yes, Omrim, there are those that say, if he does not want to marry another woman, well, why should he marry another woman? And he wants to live with her. I mean, he wants to be with her. Not have relations, but he wants to be husband and wife. They want to be, through another third person for 1 year. And he's only going to go and visit her only with witnesses. That's halacha. He does not need to go out and he does not need to divorce her. Here we go. And this is what we really want to see about time right here. Again, I like doing the halacha just to understand what the halacha is speaking about. V'kol sheken, and by the way, I'm not even doing with you the Gemara, Rabotai, which is the better way to do the whole Gemara, okay. V'kol sheken im zinta tachtav, and he says for sure, the Rama says, if she went ahead and she cheated while she was his wife, the mi'isalei, she's disgusting on him, the shari b'kai gavna. Listen, in such a way, if he wants to still continue living with her through having Adim coming when they're going to visit one another, he's allowed to stay with her. Okay. Now, what do we want to see? Let's go back over here. So this is what he says over here, Rabotai. The odd, and furthermore, we're giving another reason to why we don't want the husband to be stringent in going ahead and doing the zikui. The odd, and furthermore, according to what's implied later on, Siman Kuf Yud Zayin in Halacha Aleph, not Kuf Yud Dalet, the Isha shezinta ena muchuyav ligarsha. You have a look. A woman who went ahead and she cheated underneath her husband, meaning while she was married to her husband, he's not obligated to divorce her. V'chen katav betosot. Rabotai, you see the difference when you do the halacha, and now when you come back over here, it opens up your eyes. V'chen katav betosot. And so Tosot wrote that Reish Zivachim in the beginning of the Zivachim. Lehedi openly, he wrote that openly. He said that if a woman went ahead and she cheated while being with her husband, he's not obligated to divorce her. V'im ken, if so, if so if so, according to what the Rama wrote in Siman Kuf Lamed Dalet Sif Dalet, so watch this. Yeah, right over here. So Rabotai, so we are right over here. Let me just do this. Right? If so, according to what the Rama wrote in Siman Kuf Lamed Dalet Sif Dalet, that's Siman 134 Sif Dalet. Let's see right over here. Siman 134 Sif Dalet. Let's see the case also, Rabotai. Also, it's a pretty long halacha, but it's forward. It's straightforward. Now we're going to speak about when can a husband give a get. if a husband swore to give a get, is he allowed to go ahead and give the get or not? Or are we going to tell him, you have to go ahead and you have to renounce, you have to go ahead and you have to nullify what you did? Because Rabotai, get has to be given without the husband being forced, as we're going to see. If the husband swore, let's say they got into an argument and he swore that I'm going to give you the get. You need to go ahead and you have to renounce the get prior to him divorcing his wife. Why? Because we do not want this get to be comparable to the case where he's being forced to give it. Because you can't force the husband to give the get. So therefore, if he swore to give the get, he has to go before 3 rabbis and they have to undo the swearing that he did prior to giving the get. Why? Because we do not want the get to be comparable as if he was forced in giving the get. But however, listen. But if he wants to make a pledge, I don't know, he said, he gives his word. He doesn't swear. He just says, he pledges that he's going to give his wife a divorce. Good. If he wants to get, let him do it. No problem. That he's allowed to do. This is not comparable to the case of onus where he's being compelled to give the get. The Rama says, what happens if he acquired? What happens if he did something legal, like through a legal document, to divorce his wife? Over there, he's going to say it's the same halacha, like the halacha of swearing. So therefore, if a person went and he did a kinyan, he did some form of acquisition to divorce his wife, over there we're going to tell you that's similar to being compelled to divorce the woman. Therefore, we're going to tell him if he has to first go ahead and renounce the kinyan, he has to undo it, and only then can he go ahead and divorce. Aval, however, im kibel alav kenasot. Now this is what we want to see, Rabotai. This is what we want to see. Aval, however, im kibel alav kenasot, im lo yigaresh. What happens if the husband accepts upon himself penalties? If he's not going to divorce, for example, he says every single day that I don't divorce my wife, you can give me a fine of $100, whatever it might be, $50, $500, I don't care. Right? He accepts upon himself penalties if he doesn't divorce his wife. Lo mikri ones. This is not considered to be that you're compelling him to divorce. Why? Since he depended his divorce on something else. Good, let him depend on anything you want. He's able to continue giving the penalty. And who says he has to divorce? He doesn't have to divorce her. Pay the penalty and don't divorce her. No, and there are some rabbis that are going to be stringent even in such a situation. They're going to tell you, no, I don't agree with this. In this situation where we said, Aval im kibal alav kenasot im lo yiligaresh, that if he accepts upon himself penalties, if he's not going to divorce her, okay, good, we're not forcing you. You did it, you depended on something else. You're hanging or you're balancing your divorce on something else, no problem. Go, give the penalties, and continue being married to your wife, who says you have to divorce her. But some rabbis want to learn, no, they want to learn that even in such a situation, if he's going to go ahead and he's going to divorce, it's called an oinus. If a husband accepts upon himself penalties to pay, if he doesn't divorce his wife, and that's why he's divorcing his wife, some rabbis want to learn that this is a get where it's forced upon him. So says the Rama, it's good to be concerned initially for that opinion and to exempt him from the kanas. Exempt him from the kanas and then go ahead and give the divorce to his wife. Aval, however, but what happens if he already divorced? What happens if because of that reason he went and he divorced her? Or if he divorced even because of the oath that he made for himself to divorce her? Haget kosher, the get is kosher. Why is it kosher? Because from the beginning, nobody compelled, nobody forced him to divorce his wife. He did it on his own initiative. Yesh omrim, there are those that say, what's considered to be compelling a person? When you compel, when you force the person itself, When you force the husband himself to divorce, that's called an oinus. But what happens if you force somebody else until his friend is going to get divorced? I feel even if it's the father and the son, or the other way around, the son and the father, lo mikri onus, this is not considered to be an onus. What is the Ramah telling us? Look, Ramah is telling us what's considered to be a situation where you're compelling or where you're forcing the guy to give a divorce to his wife. When is that? It's when I'm forcing the husband directly. But what happens if I'm not forcing the husband? What happens like this? Let's say we threaten the father. We say, look, if your son doesn't get divorced by this and this date, you're going to give us 100,000. We're going to kill you, whatever it might be. If we're threatening the father, and through that the son is not going to have to be forced to divorce his wife, that's not considered to be a get through force. Force has to be when I speak directly to the son and I tell him, hey, if you don't divorce her, we're going to kill you. Or if you don't divorce her, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. We're going to take money or whatever it might be. We're going to threaten him. So that's why he says over here, what's considered to be compelling a person to divorce? That's when you compel the person himself. But if you're forcing somebody else, until his friend is going to get divorced, I feel even if it's the father and the son, or the son and the father, this is not considered to be an onus. There are some that want to be stringent, whereas a father and the son, that's considered to be that it's a forced divorce. Finally, come in Siman Kuf Nun Daled, look into later on in Siman Kuf Nun Daled from these laws. Again, Rabotai, we're doing this very fast. Again, there's much more commentaries, there's a lot more Torah that goes into this. But we want to see over here, Rabotai. We wanted to see this. We want to see this case right here in the pink highlighted area. Yesh omrim, there are those that say, the law mikri ones el mashe onsin ladam atzmo. No, not this. Michila, I apologize. Take that back. Right over here, the blue. Aval im kibbal alav kino. So this is what we want to see. If the person accepted upon himself penalties or fines, im lo yigaresh, if he's not going to divorce his wife, lo mikri ones is not considered to be an onus. Since he depended his divorce on something else, so he's able to give the penalty and not divorce his wife. Now, Rabotai, this is the lenient opinion we're going to see right now in the Pitchit Teshuvah. And there are those that are stringent. I feel even in such a situation that it's considered to be that you are compelling him to divorce. So therefore, what we're going to tell you, initially undo him, exempt him from the penalty, and only then let him go ahead and get divorced. Now remember, Rabotai, what we're really concerned over here, we don't want men divorcing women against their will, by force. We want them to do it willingly. Now, let's go back over here to HaEzer. So when he says over here, so let's just start from this line one more right here, Rabotai. Let's start from here. And furthermore, according to what's implied later on in Siman Kuf Yud Zayin Halacha Aleph, a woman that she cheated while she was still married to her husband, he's not obligated to divorce her. And so too, Tosfot wrote in the beginning of the Zevachim openly, and if so, that's what we just saw. Even if the husband accepted upon himself a kanas, if he's not going to go ahead and divorce, there are those that are stringent, what we just saw the opinion. They have a get me'useh. It's a forced get. Get me'useh means, Rashi explains, get me'useh means a get that was given bechazaka, with force. So that's what he says clearly. You see, Rabotai, that fil kibel alav liten kanas, even if a person accepted upon himself to give a penalty, if he's not going to divorce his wife, there are those opinions that are stringent, and they're going to tell you that this is a compelled get. So therefore, you want to go ahead and you want to exempt him from the penalty and only then divorce. Even according to the people that are lenient there, like we saw, since he's able to continue paying the kanas, the penalty, and he doesn't have to divorce her. That's why, Rabotai, in all of these cases, Mashe'enken kan. So now we're going to see why we came over here. But which wouldn't be the case over here in the case where a woman abandoned the religion. Since he's obligated to go and marry another woman. He's obligated to marry a woman. If we're going to go ahead and we're going to force him because of extra stringencies, to give the get to the first wife, Yesh lachush leget me'useh. That's why he doesn't want you to give a get. That's what the Rama says. You're not even allowed to be stringent. Why? Because we have to be concerned for a get that's being given by force through compellment, not because he wants to. So that's what he says. Don't give the get. Let him just go ahead and get married to another woman. Wow. Alright, so let's see this one more time, Rabotai. V'katav od, we're going to go straight through it without going back to all those halachot. We're just going to read it. V'katav od, and he wrote furthermore. This is what the Rama wrote in a place where the minhag is not to do the zikui. Don't be stringent. What does that mean? According to my humble opinion, he says they're not even permitted to be stringent. Mitrei ta'amei. From two reasons. Chada, number one, since the Rama wrote in Siman Kuf Mem, to those people that they go ahead and they do the zikui of the get through somebody else, that if she does teshuvah and she does come back, you don't have to give her another get. And furthermore, the mashma elikam in Siman Kuf Yudalid or Siman Kuf Yudzayin Halacha Aleph, the isha shezint en mechuyev legarsha, where you have a woman that if she cheated on her husband, he's not obligated to divorce her. And if so, even if he accepted upon himself to go ahead and give the kenas, if he's not going to divorce his wife, there are some opinions that are strictly going to tell you that this is a forced get. Even according to ones that are leaning, that are going to tell you that it's not a forced get, because since he's able to go ahead and pay the penalty, and who says he has to divorce? Which wouldn't be the case over here. Since he's obligated to marry a woman, and if you're going to force him because of extra stringencies, to give the get to the first wife, we have to be concerned for a forced get. And that, Rabotai, we do not want. Look over there furthermore, it's implied from his words, if we know for sure that she did adultery, in a way where she becomes usher on her husband, she's equal to like a woman who's abandoning her religion. What we saw, but from the words of the Rama later on in Siman 140 Halacha Hey, lo mashmakin, it's not implied like that. And one needs to say, Shemifarish divrei Rama, Sham, Kimo Shipir Chacham HaShoel, Benod Biyuda Siman Tzadik Bet. We have to say the way he explains the Rama, the words over there, is like the one who's asking the question over there, Nod Biyuda in Siman Tzadik Bet. Yuva B'divrei Sham is going to be brought down over there. V'lo K'divrei HaNod Biyuda Atzma, not like the words of the Nod Biyuda himself. Fine. Now, Rabotai, up to now what we saw was the opinions that are going to tell you that if you have a woman who abandoned the religion, he's able to go out and get remarried, and he doesn't have to be concerned for the first wife. And like we said, he shouldn't even be stringent because we don't want to be concerned for a forced get. Now we're going to see a Khatam Sofer. The Khatam Sofer is going to go with a strict opinion. He's going to say, no, you have to go ahead and you have to make sure. We will see right now, he's going to say you need 100 rabbis to sign off. You cannot just go like that. However, he says, B'teshuvot Khatam Sofer Siman Gimel, in the response of the Khatam Sofer in Siman Gimel, Mivuar is explained, the afilu be'asura alav midorait, even in a situation where she's forbidden on him from the Torah, ve'ene isha haru'uya lo, and she's not a woman who's fit for him, like in our case where she abandoned the religion, lo nahageh lahatir lisha acheret. No, we're not going to have the custom to allow him to marry another woman below kuf rabbanim, without 100 rabbis. V'katav sham, meaning the Khatam Sofer is telling you that if he wants to go ahead and get married to another woman, he needs to go ahead and get permission from 100 rabbis. V'katav sham, and he wrote over there, nidun girusha, he wrote over there of a case where he had a woman who was a divorcee, shenised le kohen, but she married a kohen, bechesket almanah. She made herself like she was a widow, that her husband really passed away, but in reality she was a divorcee. So she went and she married a Kohen, because a Kohen is allowed to marry a widow. A Kohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee. But she didn't want to say that. She put her status as she's an almanah, a widow. When the thing was known that she's a divorcee, barchala, she ran away. Nobody knows where she is. Now the husband, he was pained because now he was left alone. He was an aguna, chas v'shalom, and now he also was nullifying the mitzvah of pruruv. He's not able to have children. So the question was, im yesh lehatir lisa acheret, can he marry another woman below heter kuf rabbanim, without the permission of having 100 rabbis sign off? Can we just go and let him get married to somebody else? Ve'erich sham levaer shorish bet atikano shel Rabbeinu Gershom Meruch Hagula, and he lent him over there to explain the root of the two enactments of Rabbeinu Gershom Umasik, and he concluded, V'zel Lashon, and this is his language. Hayutzem mizeh, comes out from this, the hakalo shaykh l'zukut laget. Over here, it's not applicable, the whole business of acquiring for her to get through somebody else. Why? The HaEzer zukut yeshla, what kind of rights does she have? The avagav the nechshta bi'isu girusha l'kohen, even though we suspected her of doing a prohibition of being a divorced woman who married a kohen, Rabotai, this word right over here has to be mikol makom, okay? It's not hey mem, it has to be mem mem. Mikol makom ben znut lo nechsha. Nevertheless, she was not suspected of adultery. Yeah, we suspected her of being a divorced woman who married a kohen, but not because of znut. So that's number one. Ve'en la shum zichiyah b'girushin. So therefore she has no zichiyah, she has no rights to being divorced. Ve'im tirtzeh li'naseh. Now if she wants to go ahead and she wants to get married, tavo, let her come. V'tikabel gita, let her come and accept her get. Right? Because we have to understand, Rabotai, even though she went ahead and she got married to a kohen in a prohibited way, fine. But did she do znut? Is she suspected of doing adultery? No. Ve'ela shum zichiyah. That's what he says. There's no zichiyah b'gerusha. She has no rights to being divorced. Ve'im tirtzah li'naseh. Now, if she wants to go ahead and she wants to get remarried, tavo v'tkabel gita, let her come and accept her get. Ve'im ken, if so, it's impossible for you to go ahead and acquire the get on her behalf through somebody else. You can't do it. Because if she wanted, she could come and get the get. And to divorce her against her will, she's not in front of us. She's not with us here. The only thing that the husband can do is to go ahead and marry another woman. For this, the Khatam Sofer says you need 100 rabbis, get, and also you have to go ahead and you have to give a get to the third party. Like it's written above, these up to here is the words of the Khatam Sofer. So look into the response to the Brit Avraham and Siman Tzadik, what he wrote on this. Okay, now Rabotai, once we come to this conclusion over here, we have to remember when the Pitchei Teshuvah brought us three cases. Right, he brought us the three cases. Case number one was, let me just see it right over here. Before the Khatam Sofer. Right, we said the reason right here. He wants to explain that he says you're not even allowed to be permitted to be stringent from two reasons. Number one, he said, since the Ramah Katav b'Siman Kuf Mem, Le'otana mizakin la'azvan. Now you have to remember, Rabotai, so those people that have this whole concept of acquiring the get through somebody else, over there the Rama says, what do he say? Im chazra, if she did to shu enter get acher, you do not need to give another get. If in a place where they have the whole business of the zikuy through somebody else, how much more so in the place, in our situation over here? If there's no minhag, why you have to give a get? That's the number one. Then we said, okay, fine, we said that. 1 second. And furthermore, what's implied later on in Siman Kuf Yud Zayin, the Isha shezint ein mechuyav legarsha. If you have a woman that if she did zunut, you're not obligated to divorce her. So it's in our case where a woman, she went ahead against the religion, she abandoned the religion. So again, you're not obligated to divorce her. Right? We said, and if so, and according to what the Rama wrote, that even if a person accepted upon himself to pay a penalty, if he's not going to divorce his wife, there are some people that are going to learn that this is a forced get, and you're not allowed to give a forced get. So according to this, again, over here also in our situation, you don't want to force him to give the get. Again, so we're giving you different reasons to why we don't want the guy to go ahead and be stringent and divorce her. Meaning, do not acquire the get through somebody else for his wife. The avla mikilim, even according to the ones that were lenient, Sham over there, I know why, which means to say, mishum hakanas, because he's able to go ahead and he's able to give the kanas. So that's over there, they're going to learn that it's not a forced get. And he doesn't have to divorce her. Masha'en can come, but which wouldn't be the case over here. Since he's obligated to marry a woman, now if you're going to force him because of extra stringencies, because you want to say, let him acquire the get through somebody else for his wife, to give the divorce to the first wife, we're concerned for a get where it's a compelled get, where you're forcing him to give the get. So again, Rabotai, we see over here reasons why the Rama, when the Rama says over here, in a place where the custom is not to be mizaki the get through somebody else, when he says, do not be stringent, you're not even allowed to be stringent, okay? All right, Rabotai, with this we conclude the whole halacha. Let's just go see a review in English, and Bezrat Hashem, with this we do conclude. So we are in HaEzer, Siman 1, halacha number 10, Pitchit Teshuva number 22, part 18, and this will be the conclusion. A very big milestone, Rabotai, a very big milestone in accomplishing halacha yud. All right, Rabotai, the summary. We start discussing whether one must be stringent and require a heter me'ar banim, permission of 100 rabbis. When a man wishes to marry another woman because his wife has left the Jewish faith or is forbidden to him. The main conclusions we took out, no need to be stringent. Right, that's what we saw in the Rama. According to Chamdat Shlomo, one should not require excessive stringency in such cases. Why Rabbeinu Gershom's ban does not apply here? The ban against marrying two women applies only when the first wife is still halachically permitted to him. If the wife abandoned Judaism or is certainly forbidden to him, for example, status of a zonah, she is not considered a woman fit for him, and therefore this is not considered marrying two wives. That's why we said the Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable. Rabbeinu Gershom never decreed his ban in such a case. Difference from mitzvah cases. Even where divorce is a mitzvah, if the wife is still technically permitted to him, the ban applies. Here, since she is forbidden to him by Torah law, the case is fundamentally different. Support from earlier authorities. This approach is explicitly supported by Maharik. Why stringency may cause serious halachic problems. Forcing unnecessary procedures, like compelling divorce, could lead to a coerced get, which we saw was get me'useh. Since the husband may be obligated to remarry for procreation, excessive stringency could invalidate the get. The Rama's position, the Rama implies that in places with no established custom, one may not even be allowed to be stringent for two reasons. A woman who left the faith and returned does not need a new get, A woman who committed adultery is not always automatically required to be divorced. Later disagreement. Khatam Sofer. Khatam Sofer rules stringently, holding that even when the wife is forbidden to her husband, one still requires a heter me'ar banim, permission from 100 rabbis. His case, a woman forbidden to a Kohen who disappeared, remarriage without 100 rabbis was not permitted. Bottom line, earlier authorities, no need, meaning the Ramah and the Pitchut that he brought all the other Achronim, no need for 100 rabbis when the wife is forbidden to him. Later authorities, the Khatam Sofer, still requires heter me'ar banim. He still requires you to have 100 rabbis give you the permission to get remarried. The dispute hinges on whether Rabbi Gershon's ban applies to a wife who is halachically unfit. Rabotai, with this we do conclude. Bottom line, we want to see from over here that if a woman went ahead and she abandoned her religion, and you are living in a place where they don't have the custom of acquiring the get through somebody else for their wife, in such a place, the Ramah says you don't have to be stringent.